think most people who are interested in guitars, rock music, or who have ever heard an 80s playlist on Spotify will know that famous riff from the song Money for Nothing by Dire Straits. But if you've ever tried playing it, you'll probably have found that it's not as easy to get that Mark Knopfler sound as you might first think. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you the exact technique that was used on the recording so that you can play it in exactly the same way. So without further ado, let's dive straight in. Hi, I'm Phil and welcome to my channel where I share with you some fun stuff that I've learned over many years of playing all sorts of guitars, keyboards and just generally pottering about in my home studio. This time I'm going to have a look at the technique that Mark Knopfler uses on the classic riff for Money for Nothing. You might be asking yourself why on earth I'm sitting here with an acoustic guitar on my knee. Shouldn't I have a Les Paul or something similar? Well, there's a reason why I'm using an acoustic, and it's because the technique that Mark Knopfler uses on the track is actually born out of more of an acoustic technique, and more specifically a frailing technique that banjo players typically use. I've done a whole video on this technique. I'll put a card up top and a link in the description so that you can look at that in more detail if you want to. But for this video, I'll just show it to you in the context of this particular song. This song is in G minor and the riff starts here with the index finger on the 5th fret of the D string and the ring finger on the 7th fret of the G string. There's a good reason that the song is in G minor, which I'll get onto in a minute, but for now let's just look at the way the right hand for right-handers, or the left hand for me, works in this song. This is where that frailing type technique comes into play. So I'll play through at a normal speed, that basic technique, then I'll break it down a little bit slower. So here's the basic technique. Okay, so let me play through it a little bit more slowly now. So essentially what's happening is that the thumb of the picking hand is kind of keeping time along with the index finger. So it's a kind of this technique. Okay, so that's fairly straightforward. It's all about the timing and the syncopation, and it's then the two fingers, so the index finger and the middle finger, that work alongside that basic plucking technique. So it's almost stopping the strings. Okay, so that's the basic technique. Let's move on to the actual riff. I'll work through the riff slowly once and then look at each of the component parts. I mentioned earlier that this song is in G minor, and that's for a reason. Having it in this key means that you can use the open D and G strings to good effect. What this means is that when you play the open strings, your fretting hand is given some time and room to manoeuvre. So let me show you what I mean. So play through the early part of the riff. So now I have played those two open strings. What I tend to do is just put my ring finger on my right hand, it would be a right-hander's left hand, on the D, again just to anchor the hand, and it's also helpful because it's not playing the third note in the scale, which that would be a G major, but this song is in G minor, so those are the strings that are playing. And then what that does, it buys you time to do that, to move your hand and to plant your finger there, like this. Okay, go through it in probably real time now. Okay, what you'll see in my plucking hand as you're going sliding down is that frailing technique with those two fingers is now coming into play. And what that means is I'm sort of hitting down on the strings with my fingernails. Okay, so watch. And then I stop the strings. Okay, so that's a very Mark Knopfler kind of signature sound. And then you can open up those strings again. It sounds a little bit naff sometimes on the acoustic guitar when you get all that distortion and that fixed wah pedal in there on your electric. It'll sound much better. Okay. So that's an easy bit. And then to a B flat major. Slide up, and then use the open strings again. Stop the strings. Okay, you can probably see now that it's a lot more complicated to get that nuance of the Mark Knopfler sound than perhaps it first sounds. Let me just go through that second half of the riff again for you. Okay, onto that G. Slide, little finger here. So if you imagine as you're playing, that left hand, or right hand in your case if you're right-handed, that picking hand rhythm, that frailing rhythm, is kind of constantly sort of keeping time, and what that allows you to do is to get that kind of Mark Knopfler stopping and starting, that click effect. That sort of. Okay, I'll do it slowly again. So I just recommend that you start practicing slowly and just concentrate on getting that marking time with the thumb and the index finger, and using the interplay between that and the use of the two fingers together, up and down, and that's stopping the strings and using the open strings. Just use that to your advantage, and eventually what will happen is you'll start to feel where you need to stop, where you need to use an open string, where you need to pluck, where you need to slide, and it will start to become more natural as you go through that process of learning and feeling the piece. Well, that's it for this video. I really hope you got something out of it that you can use in your playing. So until next time, happy practicing and bye for now.